Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1212B, and today's date is February 23rd, 2017, and the title of the episode is The Deep State Just Made Its Move, and You're Not Going to Believe Their Plan. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, many reports ago, we talked about the farmers, how real farm incomes in 2017 are expected to sink below 2010 levels, which represents a 36% decline from the recent peak and a 14% decline since 2015. Farms are in a lot of debt right now. And we can see at this point where Trump is pushing a new type of deal with NAFTA. He is pushing a border tax. Well, Mexico decided that they're going to look elsewhere for U.S. grown corn. Now, Mexico is the largest importer of U.S. grown corn, and they just announced plans to find an alternative. And they're looking at South America, Brazil, Argentina, and they're looking to bring in soy and corn and wheat from these countries. Now, if they go ahead and do this, this is going to hurt the farming community. And they're going to go further and further into debt. And they might see their farms disappear. So this is not a good situation that we're in at this point. Now, we can see that DHS, well, they started their immigration policy. And those people that are illegally in this country, they're going after. And they're not bringing out armed forces. They're not bringing out troops doing a mass deportation. That's all fake, phony, and false. What they are doing is that they're saying, listen, if you're coming into this country illegally, we're going to be sending you back. And Homeland Secretary, Security Secretary John Kelly, well, he visited Guatemala to explain that, yes, if people are planning on coming into this country illegally, they will be sent back. And we have to remember back in time when Obama put forth his executive order / memorandum where people who jumped over the border, they can stay in this country. Remember, he had billboards down in South America. They told people that you can come into America, nobody would stop you, and actually send your children, because once the children are inside the country, then the parents can come over. We'll give you working papers, we'll give you funds, you can go to the sanctuary cities. And there were pictures of these children on trains coming up to America. I mean, it was all pre-planned. And we can see things now are changing. I mean, the deep state, the elite, they don't like this because they had a different agenda. And you have to remember what their agenda was. They were blending all the countries into one. They were trying to pass the TPP, where it allowed foreign workers to come into the United States and get paid their foreign wages. This way, the U.S. employee, manufacturer, they wouldn't be able to compete. They would have to bring them down to the level of those individuals because they knew once the economy collapses, that this would become a third world country and things would change dramatically and they would need people to work. They also brought these illegals in for other reasons, for voting, for Obamacare. And we can see that all of these plans, well, they completely fell apart. Now, we know there were riots in Sweden, and Robert Reich, a professor at UC Berkeley, and he was the former U.S. Secretary of Labor, he's out there and he's insinuating that Trump incited the riots in Sweden. Because as soon as he mentioned it, that, well, the corporate media is not reporting the real news and there are riots in many different countries, and he mentioned Sweden. He said 48 hours after, riots broke out. Now, are you trying to tell me that the migrants, those individuals that were in this country were listening to Trump and they said, you know something, that's what we should do. We should riot. Why would they do that? It makes no sense. Well, he tweeted this out there, and then he decided, well, maybe this wasn't a smart move. He deleted his tweet because a lot of people were giving him crap for it, saying, are you serious about this? I mean, that makes no sense whatsoever. And he retracted it. Now, James O'Keefe from Project Veritas, he's best known for his stings where he went undercover into these different organizations about Hillary Clinton, and he exposed the corrupt organizations. And he said that he was going to be targeting the mainstream media in 2017. And it looks like CNN is his first victim. Now, they've recorded hundreds of hours of raw footage, and it was leaked by an employee who probably was not happy in their job. And he's asking anyone who would like to listen to the raw recordings, pick out what you think is relevant, listen to them, see what's there. And he has, certain parts of it that he already deciphered. But we can see right now he is going after the corporate media, showing that their real agenda, well, it's not to report the news. It's not to be unbiased. It's to control what people think. It's to push people in a certain direction. And we can see that the deep state plan right now, well, that's what they want to do. They want to control the flow of information. And we have to remember, the central bank, the deep state, the elite, and the neocons, they need to do a couple of things here. And we've said this before. They need to control the creation of currency. This way they can control governments. If they can control governments, they can control the people. And they can put countries into debt, which allows them to completely control them. They want to control the flow of information. This is why the corporate media has been basically shrunk down, and 5 corporations own all of them. Pretty soon it'll probably be 3, then 2. But right now we can see that a lot of these news stories are scripted. A lot of the networks, they carry the same exact information. And you can see it on Conan O'Brien. He does a whole gag thing about the scripted news from all over the country where they're saying the exact same thing. And we can see that they've tried many different things, the deep state, the elite, to shut the alternative media up. And going back to 2014 or so, they started to take down YouTube channels and things like that. And we saw a lot of people's channels go down, but they came back up because they didn't have a reason to bring them down. Because people were looking at the terms of service saying, what part of the terms of service did I violate? And they couldn't come up with an answer. Then they started to change their terms of service. We're hoping where those people who were on YouTube, any little money they were making, that would stop them from continuing. So they demonetized a lot of videos to make it hard for people. Well, they kept doing it. It didn't work. Then they came out with fake news. Well, that didn't work either. It was a backlash. Trump went off on it. He was using it to call the corporate media fake. Well, now they've taken it to the next step. And they need to control the flow of information right now because they're about to have this incredible event. And they don't want the alternative media out there. So what they're doing right now is they're hiding the alternative media and demonetizing the alternative media at the same time. Now, 2 sites were hit. Infowars, they had their ad roll. Well, that was just dropped. And it looks like from the ad operation, it accounted for about $3 million in sales for Infowars. And again, they have to pay for the studios. They have to pay for the people working there. They have to pay for their health benefits, pay rent. With NaturalNews, they basically took his site and hid it on Google, which means if you type in naturalnews.com, his site doesn't come up. He had about 140,000 pages. If you do a search now, it doesn't come up. So people are not going to be driven to his site. He's completely hidden. So if you type in anything that has to do with any type of politics or vaccines, health remedies, or anything like that, you will never see his site. And he was getting something like 1.8 million visitors to his site. So what they're doing at this point is they figured out, listen, we tried fake news, we tried all these other ways, we're going to hide them and hit them in the pocketbook. And they've done it to 2 very big sites, which means they're going to spread this out even further. Now, I'm hearing from other alternative media individuals that their view counts on YouTube have been dropping. Now, they're saying it makes no sense why they've dropped. Yes, they fluctuate here and there, but to go in half, that's kind of odd. And I can see at this point what they're doing is trying to hide all of these alternative media sites from the searches. Because if you don't see it, it just doesn't exist. Isn't that how the corporate media spreads the word of their news? We just omit the things we don't want you to hear. So they're taking that to the next level. Now the question is, why are they doing this? Why have they gone to the next level and they started to do this? Because from Robert Steele and other individuals who've come out saying that they're planning something this spring. And the alternative media, well, they look at every video clip, they look at everything that's going on, and they say, well, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. That's not how this happened. They don't want this done. Think about it. All those times when there was some type of false flag, we saw all the evidence. There's no blood on the ground. He's firing the weapon, not at the person. And this has been going on for quite a while. So this next event that's coming up could be the assassination of Trump. We don't know. They don't want the alternative media out there. Even if they record it and people search, it's not going to show up. This is their next plan. They're getting prepared and ready for the next event. And we can see right now that things are starting to escalate right now. I mean, if you thought, well, Trump is in office, things are going to be okay now, the opposite is happening, actually. It's actually worse because the deep state, the elite, the central bank, they're backed into a corner. Just like in Syria. And they're going to do whatever they have to make their move. But they need to do certain things first. And they've already started. Now, out in North Korea, we see that the North Korean government, they want the body back of Kim Jong-un's half-brother. Now, North Korea is saying it's not his half-brother. Malaysia, South Korea, they're saying it is. North Korea is saying that this is a conspiracy to set them up. And we can see right now that this might be something that the CIA might have done along with South Korea. And Malaysia, for a strange reason, under international law, they should be returning the body. But they're keeping the body right now. And they want a DNA sample from the dead man's family. Well, haven't they identified him already? But they want the DNA. Is that because the body is not his half-brother and they need a sample of the DNA to plant it on him? I mean, we don't know at this point. But it's very odd in what they're doing at this point. Right now, South Korea is using loudspeakers to blast the news of Kim's dramatic assassination across the border. I mean, when you look at the situation right now, it seems like this was completely set up. But we'll have to wait until we get more information out there. We see out in Iraq, the U.S. military saying, yes, the troops, well, they're involved in combat. They're on the front lines. They are fighting. So these are not advisors. This is boots on the ground, and they're fighting in the wars. So everything that Obama told us was completely fake, phony, and false. We see the U.S. Special Envoy, Ratney. Well, he's going to be involved in the Geneva talks, where they're going to be talking about peace with the UN in regards to Syria. How these peace talks are going to go, we don't know. So it has come out that the White House under Trump instructed the CIA to halt military support to the armed groups. And it appears that the CIA was instructed nearly a month ago by the White House to freeze all assistance to the rebel groups. And this came as Trump was coming in and Obama was leaving. That was the first thing that he did. And we can see that there's a complete shift in policy right now. Now, McCain, he decided to go to Syria. He traveled over there. He met with the Kurdish-held region in northern Syria, spoke to the U.S. military officials, rebel fighters, the Islamic State, the Al-Qaeda, and it looks like what he was doing out there was looking at the situation, looking at the paid mercenaries, which are the Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, Al-Sham, the moderate rebels, and seeing what type of shape they are in right now, making plans to push the agenda further. Because think about what's happening right now. These neocons are preparing to bring in troops into this area. We have McCain making deals with the Saudi king, saying we're ready to bring troops into Syria. We see already the generals are saying, listen, you want to go after the Islamic State? We need to bring troops in. But they should be coordinating with Syria and Russia, but they're not doing this. And we can see at this point, remember, McCain and Graham, they went out to Ukraine, spoke to the individuals there, said this is the year of the offensive, and all of a sudden, the war started up once again in Ukraine. Here we have McCain out in Syria, looking at the situation, trying to gather up more troops to enter Syria. They have something planned here, because their goal is to go after Assad. And very interestingly, senators from both parties, Democrat, Republican, are telling Tillerson, listen, you need to hold Assad accountable for his war crimes. Now again, these war crimes have never been proved. Most of it is fake, phony, and false with all these different reports. And we went over many of the reports in the past. So we can see right now from everything that's happening at this point, they are planning a major offensive in Syria. They're bringing in the troops. They're not going to be using the Islamic State, maybe to a small extent. They're going to be bringing in troops from all the coalition countries to go after Assad. They're going to make one last-ditch attempt. And they're trying to get the administration on board with all of this to go after Assad. So as we move throughout this year, things are really going to escalate. Things are going to change rapidly. And we can see right now that the deep state, the elite, the central bankers, they're making their move. They're ready. And they've already put their plan into place. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.